Well, welcome to the Motorcycle Monkey Podcast. I am Clint August, and my friend Richard Lillibridge is in with us to talk about a couple of things. One, I don't know if you're okay with this. I hope you are. I know we're talking Mayride, which is coming up this Saturday, May 15th. It is going to be an incredible day. Had to make some adjustments for COVID, but you can bet May 21st of 2022, it's going to be back in full effect at Biggs Harley Davidson. And Richard, as the owner of Biggs Harley Davidson, I just have to ask you before we talk about Mayride. Well, first of all, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. It's good to be here, Clint.
You made the trip down from San Marcos, only about 30 minutes, but I still appreciate it.
Easy trip.
I wasn't quite ready, of course, the lights falling off of the side of the podcast room, and making coffee late, but we got it done.
I got my coffee.
You okay talking about your dealership and how you came to own it and all that?
Sure.
I have wondered since I started riding in 2001, was it? Now, I had a Honda V45 Magna 750 years ago in 83, and I rode in my late teens, early 20s. But then I didn't have a bike for quite a while, and I got my 2000 Road King Classic, been riding ever since. And since that time, and I know it's a pipe dream. I get that it's this romantic, just great notion that to own a Harley dealership, for me, that's because I didn't put all the work into it. I just envision what it might be like. I want to know what it really is like to own a Harley dealership. In fact, you had two for a while, and then you went to one giant one.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you all about it. How'd you even get involved?
Wow. That's quite a story, Clint.
I'm ready.
Hopefully you guys got time for that. So this goes way back to when I was younger, maybe 18 years old, and I started a windsurfing business. And I was in Minnesota, born and raised in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I had an opportunity to sell these windsurfers and teach how to do that, and that really started me out on my entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur after that business. And another thing that I wanted when I was very young, being in St. Paul, Minnesota, is move to San Diego, California,
Why San Diego? How did you come to say, hey, that's the place I want to be?
My brother was out here in the 60s, and Long Beach and, Jimi Hendrix era and all of that, and so I always wanted to join up. So I wasn't able to move out here until the late 70s.
Okay.
And I married the mother of all my children, Ann Hartman, and so one day her father, who had several Harley Davidsons, he had a mortgage business and condos, one in Hawaii, one in Palm Desert, and some others. And he was putting a Harley in all these condos, and one day he had an idea that he was going to buy a Harley Davidson dealership.
Okay.
And at that time, I was running a pool business that I had started. I was
Building or cleaning or both?
Cleaning, and I was just moving into the building. I had built a couple owner-builder pools, and I was going to get my contractor's license and start building pools. And I call him Grandpa Harley, came home one day, and he's like, anyone that wants to work in the Harley business, let me know.
So he was doing it.
He was going to buy a Harley Davidson dealership. And so anyone in the family, the kids, if they wanted to do it. And I looked at my then wife and I was like, a desk job seems kind of good to me right now.
This hard work stuff sucks.
Yeah, maybe I should raise my hand on this one. And I did. And the dealership was in Oceanside, California.
Now, that was Harley's House of Harleys.
Yes.
Yeah, that was another question later, but now I'll ask you in a minute.
So my father-in-law made up the name Harley's House of Harleys. His name is Harley Hartman.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I thought you were kidding when you said Grandpa Harley.
No, Grandpa Harley. Harley Hartman is his name. Hence, one of my sons' name is Hartman.
Right.
And that's another story. But so I told Harley Hartman, I said, yeah, I'd like to help you run the store. And it was in Oceanside. Now, we were living in Indio, California at the time, and I was running my pool business at that time.
Isn't that about 3 hours away?
About 2.5, 3 hours, yeah.
Okay.
And so it was a big decision for a family man at that time. It was just like, geez. But it was an opportunity for me to get to San Diego area too, which was a big dream way back long time ago. And so I discussed it with Ann, and it's like, okay, this is a great opportunity. Go for it. So my twin boys, Hartman and William, were born in '88, and in March of '88 we opened the doors of the Harley's House of Harleys in Oceanside, California.
Year after I graduated.
Yeah, and I came down to run as a general manager and to run the business, and so there we started. I think at that time that business sold 36 motorcycles in a year, 36 Harley Davidsons.
In a year?
In a year.
How do you survive off of that?
Well, Sherm Ames, the old owner, he was going to show me how to run a Harley Davidson dealership and teach me how. And he was a jack of all trades. He did painting, he did sales parts, he sold the motorcycles, and
so a utility player, yeah.
Yeah, back in the old days, and actually I did it all too back then, back in '88. And so from that time though, we were able to sell more Harleys and grow the business. I mean, it wasn't too much to grow from like 36 motorcycles a year to 70.
Hey, double's better.
Double. And the following year we went from like 70 to 150.
Now at that point, is it starting to become pretty profitable? Because I don't even know what you have to sell per month these days to make it work today. And I realize too that the bikes are only part of your profit, because you guys do a pretty low bottom line on those, right? It's
right.
The parts and the accessories and all of those things.
That's
Were you
right.
doing all that back then as well, just like you are now?
Yes, but back then I think we had 2 technicians. I had 1 parts person.
For the whole dealership?
Yeah, and me.
Wow. Okay, so you're working long hours.
Yeah, right. I was working 7/12s back then.
Yeesh.
Just to get her going. I mean, It was all day, every day.
But that's part of the reason that I also respect business owners like you. And I don't think they get enough credit. You put so much in the front end, sometimes forever, but at least so much in the front end that I don't think people understand how much goes into that, how much of your life you put into that.
Yeah.
So God bless you for it.
It becomes business and personal.
Right. Your dates are at Harley Davidson having, dinner with your wife as she brings it in.
Yeah.
Because you got to go back to work and finish what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, then at that time, Grandpa Harley, he owned the business, but his idea was that he was gonna eventually sell us to us kids. It was about 3 years in, and the business was doing very well. I remember Grandpa Harley always thanking me at the end of the year. Says, "Hey, Richard, that's a great year we had," And it was time for us to buy the business. And I remember Grandpa Harley, he called Harley Davidson up, and they said, well, the kids don't have enough money. They don't have any money. I mean, we had a house worth $60,000 at that time.
Yeah, which back then is decent, by the way.
Well, it might have been decent at that time, but I think
not for a Harley dealer.
Yeah, not for a Harley dealer. So Harley Davidson said no, said I couldn't buy it. And I remember telling Harley Hartman, I said, well, if I can't buy this business, and it's no reason for me to stay here. I can go on and do something else. And so we made an appointment with the Harley Davidson people back in Milwaukee. We flew back there, and I remember sitting down in the conference table. And they had attorneys, and they're people that approve new dealers and that type of thing.
Didn't even know that was a thing back then. I know it's a thing now.
Yeah.
But
Oh, it was back then too.
they just want to make sure it sustains.
Yes.
Okay.
And so they were saying, no, kids can't get it. They don't have enough money. And so Harley said, well, let's take a look at this. He said, has this business ever made a late payment to you guys? Well, they looked through the books. Well, no, they never have. Has this business ever done pretty much everything that Harley Davidson has asked, with promotions and those? Well, yeah. He said, well, the kids have been doing it. And he said, I'm going to sell them the business and the checkbook and everything. Everything is going to stay the same. He says, why can't they buy it?
So he's selling you to them.
Yeah, he was selling.
He
was selling us to the Harley Davidson people, and eventually they bent over and said, "Okay, kids can buy it." And so I say, I'm the last poor guy to ever get a Harley Davidson dealership.
Okay, so you.
So they allowed it. They allowed it.
You take it over. How long is he involved at all once that transition happens? Is he like just, I'm good, I'm done, do your thing?
Pretty much, he stayed involved. He helped us buy the first business. At that time we were renting some facilities for our dealership, and
meaning like to house the motorcycles and
right.
other things when they weren't on the showroom.
Yes,
because I do remember that dealership being quite a bit smaller than the one you have now. Well, actually, the last two you've had.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and we bought the building. Grandpa Harley bought the building on Oceanside Boulevard there, where we called it Harley's House of Harleys at that time. And
remember, we had a Mayride there. We had a Mayride there.
Gosh.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And then it grew bigger. And thank God what you did was you already had the other dealership over off of Nordal, I believe, right next to, I think it was up from Walmart. Now there's a Costco there off the 78 freeway.
Yes.
And that was a massive dealership, huge parking lot. And then you moved, we had a few there, and then you moved where you are now, Los Vallecitos way, and that's right off the 78 as well, and Las Posas is your exit, just in case anybody's watching wants to go that hasn't been there. And that is where the Mayride is coming up this weekend. We'll talk about that in just a minute here.
And I'm riding with you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, man, and that's the thing about Lemons into Lemonade. Even though we can't have the full event, we're doing more than we did last year, but this is a good thing for this year, for at least selfishly for me.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. But
for us.
Yeah, for us, yes. Well, I get to ride with you. That's what I'm saying. I'm stoked I get to ride with you and others. On the day of Mayride, which I haven't done in 8, 9, 10, 12 years.
I know.
But, so you sold Harley's House of Harleys. You were over at Nordal then, and then you sold that, I believe, and then went over to where you're at now.
Well, okay. You want to hear the story on that one now?
I'd love to if you're willing to share it. I just
we were over there on the coast, and Harley Davidson is constantly moving forward like businesses do, and they started drawing circles around all the dealerships, and they're saying this is your designated area that you want to sell motorcycles to. And they drew a circle around my place in Oceanside, and I said, geez, half my customers are fish.
That makes sense.
I said, I got to move inland and make my circle bigger and get more people.
Why.
And that's when I moved inland to that big store.
Okay, so the size of the store I never questioned. I always thought it was just because you wanted a bigger store. I didn't know how interesting that is.
I had new demographics. That was the main reason that I moved. And, of course, we were growing, so I needed a bigger facility, too. So that was
it probably didn't make sense to have both, right?
Well, I kept both for a couple, 3 years. And
I couldn't remember that. Okay, that's right, yeah.
And, it was difficult to keep them both.
That's a lot. That's a lot of payroll, a lot of keeping track, a lot of bookkeeping, a lot of... If you can sell just as many out of this one dealership as you can both, why are you putting that effort in, right, and that money?
Right.
So you moved... Okay, so then you wind up on Los Vallecitos, which, by the way, I'm not just saying this because you're here. I love... My favorite part of your dealership, the absolute favorite part is... other than the people are great, is that when you walk through your doors, the first thing I noticed was the drop-down floor. I don't know what it is, 10, 12 steps down?
Yeah.
It's a good 6 feet, 7 feet. you can see the entire showroom from the front, and that to me, as soon as I walked in, looks grand.
It
And
does.
I like that.
It does.
You can see exactly where motor clothes is. You can see where the accessories are. You can see where parts department is. You can see where the aftermarket stuff is over here for the customizing. And then, all your offices and the salespeople. And then there's all the bikes right in the center. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. By design,
Yeah.
Clint.
Was that intentional?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, I guess I kind of figured it was.
Yeah.
But because the building didn't come like that, obviously.
No, it was just a shell.
Okay, so you move in there, and I assume business was good from the start, I would think, because you already had a following from Nordal and from Harley's House of Harleys.
That's what we did. We actually, when we moved into our new facility there on Los Valecitos, a lot of people couldn't find us. It was a new location. And, you have to do quite a bit of marketing to let your people know we're in a new location, even when you email and let them know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't read it or whatever. They're going to the old facility. So I'm going to say it took us a year for our customers to get used to our new facility.
So the little speed bump to get over that.
A little speed bump to get over that. And I'd say that's probably normal for most businesses that move.
I would think so, too. But, and there's other things that I don't think people are aware of, and I'm only aware of it because of the Mayride and the planning and getting the street shut down, Bingham there, and talking to the city. Howie, your marketing guy, my good friend, your buddy, he's so good at it. But I only learned about this because of the planning for Mayride that we do every year. Your location is everything as far as now there's a huge apartment complex or condo complex that's very, very nice. Right behind your dealership. Well, actually, it's in front of your dealership, really, if you out the front of your store. Well, now I'm sure you have to make sure that people, even though you were there first, I'm sure there's a noise ordinance. I'm sure with UPS across the street that's been there, all your neighbors have to be cool with it. That's got to be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt, but you've got a lease, and so you figure out. That's the entrepreneurship, Clint, that you have. And it's just like, we got to figure out how we're going to be here. We got to get along with the city.
Oh, yeah.
I went down and talked to the city manager. And they put some ordinances on us, but we were able to play our bands from 11 to 2.
Okay, so 11 a.m.
instead of 10 to 3 or 4 or something like that. So they limited us on that, but you just work with it. You work with it.
And the special permit that we get, see, now I just learned something else I didn't know. I didn't know you were only 11 to 2. So that means for Mayride, that special permit we get, because we start playing those bands at 8:30 in the morning.
Yep.
And then they go till 3 or 4. So on that day, okay, so there's something I didn't even know involved with the event I started, I didn't even know.
And those things are done along with closing of the street, Bingham, closing that off.
I talk to Howie all the time about that.
Diverting
That's a task.
the traffic and things of that nature.
Oh, yeah, the traffic stanchions and all of that, the inspectors, and then even some vending, for a while there it was, hey, look, no knives. Because, they didn't realize it's a dry event, We don't serve beer.
Right.
And so, Howie called me one day. I don't even know if you were aware of this. He called me one day. Hey, man, we have 3 knife vendors and, can't have it. I'm like, wait, what? What? He's like, let me explain, and so I think a deputy or somebody was there, and we could have. I know we could have. I know if you or Howie really pushed the button, we could have had the knife vendors there, but you're always cognizant of, and rightly so, your relationship for other events and the rest of your year with the city. So the smart thing to do is say, look, you're asking, we're complying.
Right.
And so we did. And that was probably, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, maybe 5, 6 years.
We've been doing this together so long.
Yes, it's been a while.
It's just a regular thing that we do every May,
Yeah. Which leads us to this. Wait, I got to ask you one more question about the dealership.
Yeah.
So now are you sort of semi-retired from it? I know you're there all the time because I see you when I go.
Yeah.
So is it like you just still have meetings and make sure kind of like overseeing everything? Or how involved are you at this point?
I'm still involved with my business, but I come and go whenever I want.
So vacations that you couldn't take before, now you can.
Yes, I'm going on some rides. Got a big ride planned this summer. Going to visit Sturgis and go on back east. So yeah, that's another whole story. But Yeah, I'm starting to have a little fun on
Good.
riding my motorcycle, and I've got a great team there at Biggs Harley Davidson now. My son Hartman doing a lot of the running, Alex and Mike Willer running the show, so I don't have a lot to worry about anymore.
You do have a great team. You really do.
There was one story. I was with one guy one night, and he's like, let's go look at some motorcycles, and we were right by the store. And we went over there, and I'm kind of looking in the window. He says, "Don't you have a key?" And I said, "No,
You don't have a key.
I don't have a key." I says, "There's no reason why I have to go in there." And he couldn't believe it.
Bummer for him, but great for you.
I was just like, no.
So I love hearing when someone starts a business that's successful and puts so much into it, and then the fruits of that labor are realized. That's one of my favorite stories ever, just with anyone, any human that puts that much into it. But then when I get to hear someone like you who did that, now they've retired or semi-retired, I guess, and now you can go and do all of the things that you've wanted to do over the years, travel, time with family, friends, you time, real you time, and not a day or two at a time. The fact that you're taking these rides, I love this. It's like Bob Lloyd over here. He's right next door, Lloyd's Collision and Paint Center. He owns 2 locations, and he always lets us park with the monkey shop at the events and stuff. He's like you, to me anyway. He is now getting to the point where he's doing what you're doing. Still there. Still working, kinda, right? He's kind of doing his thing. He's making sure stuff goes smoothly, answers questions when he needs to, but now he's taking those trips.
Yeah.
And to hear you're doing this is great, too. I love that.
Well, and what you've done for the community over the years, and raising money for our military is amazing, and we have always done that. We started out with the Angela Spence ride, years ago, and then the May ride kind of came in alongside of that, and so. Biggs Harley Davidson, Harley's House of Harleys has always been about giving back to the community, just because we're so fortunate, with our businesses and with the customers that we have and those relationships. It was always important for me to give back to the community. And that's where Mayride comes in. It's so easy for me to support you, and what you're doing. It's a real good fit. Well, and I appreciate it. I
was just going to say, I appreciate you. I appreciate Biggs, Howie, and the whole crew, because you guys
Howie
do put
is
a lot
amazing.
Into it. Oh, man, that guy's a marketing master.
Yes, I'm lucky to have him.
Well, it's funny because so he is my right-hand guy as I'm his right-hand guy. So for the dealership, he's my liaison for everything that has to do with Mayride. For Mayride itself, I'm his liaison, what he needs to know, what's happening at the dealership. So it's this symbiotic relationship that's been great. But for Mayride, in fact, I will tell you, with the team that's helped out for a number of years, there was a time it was me and my buddy Mark Ballack. We started that thing. He and I were the only two just getting day of volunteers. And that only, and there was nothing on paper. It was handshake deals. And it got to a point where I got an event coordinator to help me, Danelle, and she looks at me one year and she goes, the first year, and she goes, so what's this about a handshake deal? She goes, no. She goes, no more. She goes, this has grown too big. She goes, you cannot do this. It's not from memory. It's not from phone calls. She goes, I need every vendor you have and every piece of information you have on an Excel spreadsheet. So that's kind of where it's sort of, there's more to it than that. And it was a little before her. But now it's this entire crew between, Rob and the Tail Gunners, who just moved to Colorado, by the way, which broke my heart. But, but hey, you got to pick up, and he's fantastic. He and his crew. Still some of his crew's behind. They're going to help next year.
Okay.
And then there's other just individual volunteers who do so much, who never get a spoken word about them. So please, if you're watching this, know that if you're behind the scenes and no one ever sees or hears about you, I promise you, I know who you are, and we love you for that. But then, Mayride itself, it's for the Armed Services YMCA, every branch of the military here in San Diego, their families, and it goes to clinical counseling. It goes to camps for kids while the parents are away serving our country, physical rehabilitation, even groceries. Much like the older, that's now defunct, the older one, Homefront San Diego, the Jimmy Valentine, who I love, passed away. Didn't even know he was sick, and that's why we moved away from that. That organization, because he was so integral in it that when he went, it went. But Phyllis, who used to work for Homefront, is now retired, but in the last few years said, hey, there's this thing called the Armed Services YMCA. I want you to meet this guy named Tim who runs it. And it's a lot like Homefront, but on steroids, just huge.
Okay. All right.
And you know how important it is when you have a charitable event that I want most of that money, if not all, to go to the actual cause.
That's right.
Well, our expenses are pretty low for Mayride, but with the sponsorship from Law Tigers and the sponsorship, obviously you're also the home site. You're not just a sponsor, but you are a massive sponsor of this. You really are. With all of the promotion, the fact that it's at your dealership, you are the property. So there's so much that you guys do by way of supporting this, that with that, plus the Law Tigers and some other great organizations like CCCA, another military organization, that's why we're able to take some of that money, pay what we need to pay to make the event happen, and then the day of, I want to say generally, and don't quote me on this, but I want to say every year except one, which was several years ago, and we changed some stuff after that, 100% of the proceeds from that day go to the cause. And it may have even from that year too. We only like to use sponsorship money to make it run.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know how. And volunteers are so important to help this, make it all happen.
Yeah.
So I know everyone in my dealership is helping hand there. It's all helping hands, whatever we can do to help Clint get this thing done.
Well, right? Us, because it's not just me. But I appreciate you
I
saying
understand
that.
it.
But I want to make sure people watching this are, oh yeah, Clint. No, trust me, it's a bunch of us.
It's a bunch of us, yes.
But to that note, it is so funny because I didn't know until about 4 years ago. Now we've been doing this.
How many years?
I don't know. Okay, so we're on the 19th year. I'm not sure I'm right. But I know it wasn't more than, it's between the fourth year, I don't know if it was the fourth year, fifth or sixth year, somewhere in there, fourth to sixth year we did this.
Yes.
It was at your dealership. So, well, actually, we might know. When did you sell Harley's House of Harleys? When did you sell it? Do you remember the year?
When did I buy it?
No, no. When did you sell it? Do you remember?
No, 93.
Wait, no, you bought it in 93, right? No, you sold it in 93?
No, not. Yeah.
2000.
I never sold Harley's House of Harleys.
Oh.
We changed the name. Is all we did.
Oh, then the Oceanside location. Sorry.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when was the last? Do you remember when that location was gone? I don't remember.
1990. No.
I was gonna say because we had a Mayride there and we didn't start Mayride till 2003.
No, it was in the 2000s. Yeah.
Okay, well we'll figure that out. But my point is, whatever year that was when we started coming to you. So it's been a while.
Got it.
It's
Wow.
been a while, and so I didn't know for all this time, and let's say it's 12, 13 years. I don't even know what it's been. Whatever it's been. Long time. That I didn't know till 2 years ago when I walked into your dealership just, bringing flyers and doing stuff, talking to Howie, talking to the crew. When I walked over to your parts department and I said, hey, you going to be here next Saturday? It was about a week and a half away. He goes, yeah, what do you mean? I go, well, yeah, it may ride the whole thing. He goes, dude, it's all hands on deck. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. And maybe it's not that way every year, but he said it's every employee you got works Mayride. Is that true?
Definitely.
Yeah, see, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So you put a lot into this as well. I mean, that's a hefty payload for you.
Well, but you keep the customers happy too. I mean, you have service people, they're coming in there, they're doing their job basically, but they're also supporting the Mayride.
Yeah, and so we have it coming up. Full crew in hand, I'm sure, even though it's not the after party. Last year we could only do, due to COVID, the ride any day in May, solo or with a small group with your masks, right?
Right.
This year you can choose to do that. As we're speaking now, you could be riding any day in May because you're supporting the Armed Services YMCA. You can go to mayride.com to register now. Or what I love about this year is on the day of, from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., we're registering people at Biggs Harley Davidson right outside the front doors in the parking lot. And I don't know what group I'm going in. I feel like I want to wait till the last group goes because that way when people come, I can talk and answer questions or whatever. But Biggs Hog too, part of Biggs Harley, the Hog chapter, they help out so much.
They really do a lot.
So much.
Yeah, so many volunteers. So grateful for that group.
Oh,
They're great.
I tell them every year, Mayride doesn't happen without you.
Yeah.
Because they get so many people to get involved with road guards and parking and registration and cleanup, just all of it, along with the friends that come. But that's where the lemons that I said in the beginning of this podcast into lemonade comes in. I have not been able to ride in a ride for, I think, 10 or 12 years. I don't know. Because Danelle, the same person I was talking about that was my coordinator for 2 years,
Yes.
God bless her, she worked so hard. She called me the first stop that I got to, the first poker stop back in the day. And I happened to hear the phone. Hey, what's up? Where you at? I'm at a poker stop. Get your ass back here right now. Okay, why? She goes, you can no longer ride in Mayride. Never. She goes, you cannot.
There's
It's
too many
busy.
questions.
Too many questions.
Just, one after another.
Yes.
One after another.
And that's when I realized that a bigger crew was so necessary, and guys like Rob, who can answer all of those questions.
Yeah.
You know, Marshall and Rob and Harry and Pinky and all these people who take different, got to sell the t-shirts, got to have a booth. The raffle prizes, got to have a booth. You know, your parts out in the parking lot and your bikes, got to have space.
You got to have money. You got to have change. I mean, all these little things you have to think about.
Someone's got to work the kid zone.
Yeah.
Who's managing the bands? Which I don't know if you're aware of this, but you know that, well, you are aware of this, but you know the last couple of years we've gone back to a single stage.
Yes.
Next year we're going back to 2.
No,
We have to
I
go
hope
big.
so.
Have to go big.
Yeah.
20th anniversary.
Yeah.
So yeah, 8-9 bands in a day, and stunt bike shows with Team RB Freestyle and Straight Up, and just so many other individual artists who come, these bands who give so much. But this year, without all of that, I know that we got permission to do the Purple Heart Pledge of Allegiance before
Okay.
we start the ride, and the Blessing of the Bikes.
Nice.
We couldn't do the national anthem. I know you're aware of all this. I'm saying it to just folks watching and
Yes.
listening. That because that's considered entertainment. Anything with music is considered entertainment. And even though things are coming back now, even if they said today a 4,000 to 6,000 person event, which Mayride is all day long, there is no way in the time we have left before, 5 days from now, that we're going to get 100 vendors and bands lined up and the stages lined up and all of that. They still wouldn't allow it, I know, because there's no way.
They won't allow it.
But don't you think by next year, that's got to be a thing? They're bringing concerts back in June.
Yeah. I think next year we'll be ready to go. And I'm getting the feeling for, our customers and just people in general, they're tired of the pandemic. They want to get out, they want to ride, they want to support, they want to get active again. And I'm feeling it, especially.
I'm glad you're saying that.
Yeah,
there was a time I went into a bubble. For about 2 months I went into a bubble because I have an OCD. I have several things I've fought for years that I don't even know how I developed the damn thoughts in my head, but I didn't want my kids to have that. So it was that in large part is why I got past it. The washing of the hands so much that they would, get so dry and crack and bleed. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, now the pandemic hits last year. So I'm right back to that for about 2 or 3 months. And I went, no, I'm not doing this. Now I get it. It's real. I get you got to wear a mask. I understand. You want to comply. Absolutely.
That's right.
Social distancing, all of that. And I don't know about you. I've had my 2 shots.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do it.
I'm vaccinated.
All right, me too. So, but my wife said, look, you have asthma. Your dad comes over, Carmen comes over. What do you have to lose by doing that? And I said, you're right. To protect the family and just to, I'm going to do it. You're right. And me for the kids, whatever. So I did it. I was eligible. Having said that, I understand both sides of the coin. I completely understand it. But I had to get out of that bubble. I had to because I wasn't coming up to see you guys. I was coffee corner that I go to every morning. I'd go maybe once or twice a week with gloves, with my mask, I got tired of it. I came home one day and I looked at my wife and I said, honey, I'm not living this way. I'll wear the mask. I'm not doing the other stuff.
Right. I was basically the same way.
Oh, were you really?
Like, I want to live my life here.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't want to be in a bubble. Right. And the easiest way for me to do that is to go ahead and be vaccinated and get back out there again.
Yeah. It does give you a sense of peace, even if it's not a cure. It still lessens the effects of COVID should you get it.
And helps others too.
True, absolutely. And that's another thing. When I wear a mask inside my shop, even right here on Saturday mornings, I'll have a few people go, why are you wearing a mask? I say, because I'm the proprietor here and I'm doing this for anybody who might be uncomfortable coming in.
Right.
And then you know what? I haven't had a person yet say, oh, that's cool. I understand that.
Yeah.
Even anti-vaxxers, even people who refuse to wear a mask, even they've gone, yeah, I respect that. It's your business. You got to do it.
Yeah, Biggs, we still wear masks.
Yeah.
All the employees are wearing masks, and we ask people that come in to put on a mask. And of course, we run into some people that don't want to occasionally, but it's for the protection of everybody.
Yeah.
You know.
And if it's what they're telling you to do, asking you to comply with, then you as a business, you don't want to be on the bad side of the city or the county, because next thing you know, when this is all over, it won't be over for you.
That's right.
So
That's right. So we're running a business. So exactly.
So man, okay. I want to have you back on in the future if you're willing to come on.
Oh yeah, I would love to.
I want to hear about this trip you're taking in
Okay.
August, is it? Because it's Sturgis.
July.
Oh, I'm taking a trip in July.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that.
Yes, we will. So let's hit that.
All right.
And Mayride, by the way, again, mayride.com. It's this Saturday. If you watch this afterwards, I want you to remember May 21st of 2022. Biggs Harley Davidson in San Marcos off the 78 freeway. You can also go to biggshd.com. That's BIGGSHD.com. They have everything right there and a link to Mayride. Or again, day of. Come support our heroes. It doesn't matter even if you ride. Richard doesn't care. Nobody cares what you ride when you come for Mayride. Just come and support the community, support our heroes and their families. And by the way, I'm just going to add this plug in for Richard and the crew. If you're thinking about a bike, they have a massive inventory of both new and used. I was drooling over your bikes I think it was there a week and a half ago. I don't know if you saw the picture of my little French Bulldog Harley.
Yeah.
He was in the row of your bikes, and he just happened to have his tongue out while he was walking. So I just wrote Harley drooling over the bikes.
So
I want that guy to ride with me so badly.
I
in a
can remember
backpack.
when you first got your first Road King.
Yeah.
And that's another story where it's fun for me to see people get into the motorcycle business, and the sport. And the energy that it gives people, to ride Harley Davidsons or any motorcycle is amazing.
It is. It really is. Richard, I appreciate you very much. I'm jealous that you have a dealership. I know you've worked hard, but I still romanticize about it. One day owning a dealership, just every bike I want to ride, I can ride. I know that's not exactly how it is, but you do have the pickings.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, there you go. I didn't know if you wanted me to say that.
Pretty much.
Oh, God, that'd be amazing. But yeah, and I review bikes from Biggs Harley Davidson as well on this channel, as you've seen. And that Pan America, okay, I'm putting you on the spot. Good God, please get me on one of those just for a day or two as soon as you can. I want to ride and review that so badly.
Well, just come on down and ride it. We've got one ready to go.
You have one now?
Yep.
What?
We got one now. We were riding it last Saturday.
You have one in your showroom now?
Yep. Ready to ride.
Okay, so what I'm doing right now is following Richard to his dealership. No, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Clint.
All right,
Appreciate
if you've
it.
ever served this country, past, present, men, women, every branch, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you, and God bless you and your families for your tremendous sacrifice. We'll see you on the next one, and ride safely.